Hello, Internet. So today I want to talk about, again, the splitting up the Straw Hats. So in a previous video, I said that Luffy was gonna take a few of the Straw Hats to Whole Cake Island, and then Law, the Samurai, a few of the Straw Hats were going to Wano, and then a few of the Straw Hats were gonna stay on Zou with the Minks. So I got that right, but I had the wrong one. So now we know that Luffy, Nami, Chopper, and Brook are going to Whole Cake Island to get Sanji and to get the Poneglyph, which means they're likely going to fight against Big Mom. And we know that Robin, Law, and the Samurai are going to Wano to continue prepping for the fight against the Shogun and Kaido. And then so a lot of people for some reason assume that Zoro, Usopp, and Frankie are also going to Wano, but if you look at the chapter, you'd realize that that's not actually right. Robin's the only one that confirms that she's going to Wano out of the Straw Hats. And not only that, but Law says that they're going to take the submarine so that Kaido doesn't realize that they're coming, that they get there, so that they can prepare in secrecy until Luffy's ready to fight, which means that the Sunny isn't going to Wano, which means which means that a Straw Hat has to stay with the Sunny, because they're not just going to leave the Sunny unattended. And Frankie obviously is going to stay with the Sunny because his goal for joining the Straw Hats was to make sure the Sunny reached the end of the Grand Line and became the Ship of Dreams. So, and since in the chapter Oda grouped Frankie, Usopp, and Zoro together, we know they're going to stay with Frankie and stay with the Sunny, which also makes sense because the Minks need some way to get to Marco, because we know that that Nekomamushi and the dog, I'm blanking on his name, are going to look for Marco, and they say that they know where he is. We don't really know where, and maybe I'll talk about where I think he might be later on, or in another video. But all we know is they're going to go try and get Marco and the rest of the ex-Whitebeard pirates. So I think that Law, Frankie, and Usopp, Zoro, Frankie, and Usopp, not Law, are going to stay on Zou and then go with the Minks to get Marco. And I think that makes sense for two reasons, other than the fact that they have to stay with the Sunny. And so the Minks need a way to get to Marco, which means they'll take the Sunny, and so the Straw Hats would have to stay with them. And then also just for plot purposes, or writing purposes, I mean, it makes sense for Oda to keep some of the Straw Hats with the Minks so that he has a reason to show their journey, because Oda's not one to make a big deal out of what non-Straw Hat members are doing. So he'll want to keep Zoro, Usopp, and Frankie with the Minks so that he has a reason to show the Minks' journey. So then my main two reasons for why it makes sense is one, Jack just got to Zou and he's fighting, he's trying to basically sink the island or kill the elephant. Zunisha, so someone's gonna have to fight him, and it makes sense that the Minks would want revenge, so they're gonna fight him. As Nami stressed in the last chapter, Luffy should be in a rush to go get Sanji back, because right now, Nami even said he's just kind of leaving Sanji situation up in the air, which isn't good. And so Luffy doesn't have time to fight against Jack, and we know Jack's strong because the Minks fought him for days. So it makes sense to me that Zoro, Frankie, Usopp, and the Minx are going to fight against him. It makes sense why those 3 Straw Hats, because they can all use ranged attacks. Nami kind of can, and Robin technically can, but really Frankie and Usopp have the most range, and Zoro has some ranged attacks as well. Plus Zoro's strong enough to fight against someone of that strength, and I don't think Oda's going to use Jack as a main enemy. I think he's going to use Jack more to show the strength of the Straw Hats, specifically those 3 members of the Straw Hats, and show that, look, the Minx fought him for days and couldn't beat him, and then Jack fought against the people carrying Doflamingo, which were strong people. Sengoku, Garp was likely there, even though we didn't see him on the ships. Suro, and Fujitora, and he got away. He was obviously badly hurt, but he got away. So I think it makes sense that Oda would use Jack as a way to show Zoro's strength, because he's obviously extremely strong. And Zoro so far hasn't fought an extremely strong opponent. He's just toyed with his opponents. So I think it will make sense that have Zoro fight him, but not have it take a long time, so that they can get back to looking for Marco. And even if it does take a long time, it makes a lot of sense anyway, because I think Luffy is going to fight Big Mom. I'll talk about this more in another video, but I think he's also going to be there for the fight against Kaido, which means that they have to take a while. They have to prepare. Oda has to have some way to delay the fight with Kaido, and so delaying Marco getting there would do that. And then the second reason why I think it makes sense is because, yeah, Marco apparently has a relationship with the Minx, but Marco doesn't really have a reason to fight against Kaido. But we know from the War of the Best that one, Whitebeard wanted Luffy protected, and that Marco and the Whitebeard Pirates took that really seriously, and that they respected Luffy a lot. And so I think that if when they go to ask for help against Kaido, if Marco sees one of, or in this case 3 of Luffy's Nakama with the Minx, he'll really have a incentive to go fight, especially when he sees how strong Zoro is. Because remember, with observation no haki, they can sense the strength of an opponent, or a friend in this case, just by seeing them or being in their presence. And so I think when Marco sees how strong Zoro is, he'll realize how strong Luffy must be now, and he'll want to help Luffy, because he'll realize that Luffy's ready to lead the new era, which is what Whitebeard wanted of him. So I think it's important that not just a Straw Hat member, but a strong Straw Hat member goes to get Marco. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think the 2 groups that we already have, Luffy, Nami, Usopp, or not Usopp, Chopper, Brook, and Peckham's are going to go to Whole Cake Island. And then obviously Robin, the Heart Pirates, and the Samurai are going to go to Wano. And then Zoro, Frankie, Usopp, and the Minx are going to fight Jack and then go look for Marco. So yeah, and in my next video I'll talk about how I think the fight with Big Mom and then Kaido are going to work out in terms of story. Yeah, so stay classy, internet, and I'll see you next time.